Today's Pick to Click is presented by OddsShark.com, the most reliable source for sports betting information with the latest odds, insight, and analysis on everything UFC. I'd encourage you to check out OddsShark.com/UFC to get all you need to know before you place your bets on UFC 268 this weekend. That OddsShark Fight Center, an outstanding resource for not just fans, but the media as well. It's got all the matchup information compartmentalized, and they're experts, not just my man Joe Osborne, but across the board. These guys are entertaining, they are thorough, and they have been invested in mixed martial arts and capping MMA for a very long time. Check it out in advance of UFC 268, OddsShark.com/UFC. Don't forget the second S. Let's get to the Pick to Click.
Time now for the Pick to Click. The Pick to Click.
All I have to do is bet on the winner, and I'll never lose.
The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast.
All right, and joining us as usual here during a UFC pay-per-view week, if for no other reason than to lift me up with his energy, is the great Joe Osborne on social media at JTFOZ on Twitter and at Paper Chaser Joe on Instagram. Great to see you, my friend. Happy Halloween.
Guys, back-to-back weeks. We should be doing a show. We should be doing a daily show together, the three of us, not just talking MMA, weighing in on politics, the vaccine, economics. People want to hear this type of stuff from us. So we'll discuss. Imagine the numbers we would do, right?
If my twin brother could have any co-host in the sports media space, it would be Joe fucking Osborne. Just don't give him Randy Couture. He was so upset when Randy Couture interrupted his guy Ken Flo all week. He's like sending me clips at Abu Dhabi. He's like, dude, if Randy interrupts Ken Flo again, I'm turning off the TV. We love you, Randy. We love you. All right. So as I understand it, there are 3 big fights on this card, and you will have some sort of wager on all of them, or at least a lean. So let's start with Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Minus 210 on one side for Gaethje, plus 175 for Michael Chandler. Obviously, there are going to be propositions and other things. But as I sit here and talk to you, all the pro fighters I've talked to are picking Justin Gaethje. I'm curious how you handicap this lightweight eliminator of sorts at 155 pounds.
Yeah, I would be aligned with all the pro fighters. I don't exactly love this fight from a betting perspective, though. Minus 200 range for Gaethje, maybe a little bit overvalued here against Michael Chandler, who's an incredible fighter. Getting him up plus 160, I could see an argument for that. But if I am giving out a pick for this fight, I would go Gaethje by a TKO/KO, coming in right at even money. Not that bad of a bet. Not the best value, though. Like I said, Gaethje has been in 12 straight fights, guys, that have all been finished inside of the distance, which is crazy, right? That 9 of those victories belong to him, all of which coming by TKO/KO. Now, you take a look at Michael Chandler. He's been knocked out twice in his last 5 fights and, has kind of shown maybe a low fighter IQ at some points. He should be wearing that championship belt right now. He had Charles Oliveira towards the end of the first round. If he let him back up, he probably would have won that fight. He'd probably be fighting Dustin Poirier. Did you guys discuss this earlier or something? Is that why
hit on exactly that point? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I could see that popping up. It also takes is one little split-second mistake, right? And I wouldn't be shocked if we see that here in this one. And, ultimately what we've seen from Justin Gaethje is that he's become a much smarter fighter. When he first came into the UFC, out of the World Series of Fighting, he was all about that violence, right? Take a shot to land a shot type of guy. And then I think after a couple losses to Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, maybe they stepped back a little bit and said, okay, do you want to be successful at this thing? Do you want to have some career longevity? Maybe we should change the approach a little bit. And that change has worked out pretty damn good for him. So I will take him to win TKO/KO even money.
Joe, Jiawei Lee, Rose Namajunas, we have the rematch. How are you seeing this one, man?
Yeah, so last time around I was on the podcast, I picked Wei Lee. And basically, I wasn't very interested in going against her 21-fight win streak at the time. However, in the back of my mind, I kind of disregarded that many of the victims on that 21-fight win streak aren't exactly to the level of Rose and top-ranked strawweights in the UFC here. So when that absolutely blew up in my face, right? We saw what Rose did in the first round of the fight. But, take a look at the big picture here for Rose. She has some very impressive performances, some very impressive finishes at this level versus better competition. So I'm going to take her to win here. And I think these odds are fantastic. Minus 110, basically even on each side here. And I think that kind of indicates that maybe her victory was a fluke of sorts, which I would totally disagree with that. You know, we've seen her finish opponents early before, ironically enough, at Madison Square Garden when she first captured the strawweight championship versus Joanna Jacek there at UFC 217. So I'll take her to take care of business here, minus 110. Ultimately, I think we need to see more from Wei Li versus high-level competition. I was kind of, I guess I was fooled by that 21 fight win streak. You know, she's still a very good fighter, one of the best in the division, but we've seen Rose do it before. We've seen her do it more. So I will go with her at fantastic odds, in my opinion.
And before I send everybody the odds prior to us taping the show, I always write what I think it would be. And I wrote down Namajunas minus 140. And I was surprised, obviously, to see that she was a slight dog in a lot of places. So I think that all makes a lot of sense. All right. Lastly, I'm very curious how you see this, because James Krause and Kenny Florian both like Kamaru Usman. It's easy to see why, not just the 14-0 in the UFC, but just the constant improvement. But I see plus 260 or so on the Covington side. I saw a fight that was definitely 2-2 going into the 5th round. So I do see a little value on the Covington side, even if I can't call them my contemporaries, but even if the experts disagree. How do you handicap the main event, and will you have a play?
So what have we seen and what do we know out of these two guys? That's how I kind of handicap the fights. Like, I'm not going to come on here and give a technical breakdown for a fight where we have a guy like Kenny, who's one of the best in the business at doing that, right? But I like Usman to win. But like I said prior to when I was on last week, I'm not going to come on here and give out a minus 300 favorite. There's not a whole lot of interest in that. So I'll take Usman to win inside the distance, coming in at around plus 140. So what have we seen and what do we know? What we've seen is Usman win a close fight. Maybe there was some controversy that it was stopped early, but you know, you go back and look at the site, at all the stats for the fight. He finished the guy. He knocked him down twice. He totally rearranged his jaw. He outlanded him by 32 significant strikes, and ultimately he did stop him. So what have we seen since? Well, Usman's gone 3-0, and he has evolved to, in my opinion, the top pound-for-pound fighter in all of the UFC. You cannot call this guy Kamaru Snoozman anymore, right? You guys remember I used to come on all the time and take the Kamaru Usman by decision, Kamaru Usman over, the round over-under betting. But now he's transformed into this incredible power puncher. Back-to-back wins via punches versus Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal. Prior to coming into those fights, those guys combined to be finished by strikes just twice in 74 combined fights. And Usman's knocking these guys out, right? So that's what we've seen from Usman. He's evolved into this incredibly well-rounded fighter. As for Covington, you know, he hasn't fought in a year. His last win was a dominant victory over Tyron Woodley, but we didn't exactly see anything new from him. You know, that fight, that victory was somewhat similar to his win over Robbie Lawler, in my opinion. He didn't land as many strikes, but it was, you know, out-pressuring and outpacing his opponent and being very dominant. So what would Colby's path to victory here be? Is he going to out-pressure Usman? Is he going to outpace him? I think that's very unlikely. Is he going to out-wrestle a guy who hasn't been taken down once in his UFC career? Right. That's unlikely. You know, maybe he has some new tools, though. You know, we haven't seen him fight in a year. Usman has come out with new tools before, so you can make that argument, and maybe you can make the argument, you can keep your fingers crossed that, hey, maybe Usman has a bad night. You know, we do see that from time to time in the sport. You can make an argument that Jan Blachowicz had a bad night the other night. It's kind of funny in this sport, UFC, like the sample sizes, guys might fight 3 times a year. Comparatively, in an NBA game, the Lakers can have a bad night, but they have 2 or 3 more chances the following week to make up for that, right? So it's just unlikely, though. That could happen, but I'll take Usman plus money to win inside the distance, you know, to kind of put a stamp on this rivalry that he has with Covington. Covington, it would be different if he was finishing people by strikes and he was this amazing submission artist. But, you know, I just don't think that this style, which Usman has a very similar style, but I think his way of doing it is better. And now he has that punching power, right? So I will very happily take Usman to win inside the distance here.
Yeah, and I know Ken Flo is going to follow you on that plus 140 Usman inside the distance, and I thought you handled that breakdown beautifully, and we'll see. It's been an additional year at MMA Masters in Miami since the Tyron Woodley fight, so we'll see if there have been appreciable improvements for Colby Covington. All right, if you want more from Joe Osborne, and why would you not, at JTFOZ on Twitter, and of course on Instagram at Paper Chaser Joe, my man, I appreciate your time. We're not going to wait till UFC 269 to have you back. We'll find a spot in the next few weeks, and we will talk to you then, my man. Thank you.
Hey guys, I look forward to it. Good luck with you. Good luck to you, and good luck to all the listeners out there.
Thank you, my man. There he is.